Okay, guys, welcome back. It has been a long time since my buddy Paul Collodi and I have done the New Jersey High School Strength Coach podcast. We'll get into that a little bit, but first and foremost, it's powered by the NHS SCA. Go to nhssca.us. You can get all the information on becoming a member. Members gain access to kind of like a back-end membership area with all kinds of educational resources, whether it's how to get strength and conditioning into your high school physical education curriculum, how to run strength or speed and agility camps in the summer, how to go from a volunteer position to part-time to full-time. A lot of great information and just, bar none, the most supportive group of high school strength coaches I've ever been part of. So, Paul, we got a couple topics that we're going to be crushing today. What is the first topic that you wanted to talk about? It's by the way, we're filming during the last week of school.
Yeah, so we're in our last week of school. New Jersey's a little bit behind the whole rest of the nation as far as high school goes, and so I know a lot of schools have already started their summer programming. Coach, just to let you know, your audio is really good, but your video is glitchy, like you're frozen right now. So, but I can hear you fine. So everything you're saying is clear.
Okay.
So, my friend Frank Cremonese, past president out in Pennsylvania, called me a week and a half ago and said, "Hey, how's your summer going?" I said, "And I haven't started yet. I'm starting to think about my programming and my schedule. And at the end of the day, when we're done this week, graduation's on Tuesday. We're going to have about 6 weeks of summer. That's it. Our football starts August 10th because we're a week 0 team. So basically from the first week in July, because I'm going out to NatCon after, so we're not going to train until July or June 28th. That's 6 weeks. So we got to stay. Coaches always think, what can I do over the summertime? Our problem in New Jersey is what can we get done in the summertime in such a short window, especially with kids coming in who have never been in the weight room before. So that was one thing I wanted to talk about with freshmen. I know that was a topic this weekend at your certification course, which is, by the way, outstanding. Had a great day with some great people. But some of their questions were, what can we do to balance? What if an athlete wants to go to a private guy when they're training with us? And, I don't want to say too much over the weekend, but I can tell you now, our fall athletes get 5 days a week. So they get a lift on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, they get an hour and change out on the turf. And we do change of direction and conditioning. And we do hill work as well. So plus they play their sport 2 to 3 nights a week. So their volume over the summer is pretty good. So I would tell them, listen, if you want to go somewhere else, maybe do some accessory work. If you want to work on your core and your muscles, even some mobility and flexibility. But for the most part, you can do that by yourself. Work on your nutrition, your hydration, getting ready for that school year when, we haven't had a real fall yet. Last year was kind of modified and, changed. It's been almost 2 years for some of these kids. So crazy.
I just sent an email to the coaches for this summer's schedule. And here's what we've got going on. So I asked the football coach, hey, do you want me? Our last day of school is this coming Monday. So I have an open weight room Monday just for an hour after school. Hang on one second. They're making a lot of announcements here. Is that audio cutting through, Paul, with the announcements or not?
No, I can barely hear it.
Okay.
It's like the train going by. I can barely hear it.
The train at my gym every 30 minutes. And so I asked the football coach, they start, they call it install. They start it the Monday after school ends, which is the 28th. So we have our last day of school Monday. A lot of kids probably won't show up. My summer lift schedule is going to be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, a 7:30 a.m. group and an 8:30 a.m. group. That's it. Now, I'll give a couple reasons why that's it. I'm 45. I've got 2 kids. My daughter's going into high school. My son's going to enter 7th grade. I've got a lot of traveling stuff with my kids for their sports. So I got to take care of that, number one. Number two, I have my private gym. So I run 2 mornings a week. at my private gym just for 1 hour. So notice I don't open up way too many hours, because then I feel like the later hours become just for the few kids who can't get out of bed, on time. And so I do two groups in the morning, especially for high school kids who work. And in our area, they work at the beach or they work at like these places near the beach. Things start early. And so I've got a family vacation the end of July. So I'll be off the end of July. And then I'll be off like that Labor Day weekend. We're training Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. We might close the Thursday before to avoid any crazy traffic stuff. And I put an email out to the coaches and said, encourage your teams to show up, twice a week. I think baseball may not come till August because they'll be doing all their travel stuff in July. And so for me, I'm always playing the long game. I put this post up on Twitter yesterday or 2 days ago that, I used to be very impressed with the intensity and the hard workers, but now I'm more impressed. And I also know the benefit of consistency. So those who continue to show up are the ones who just make regular progress. If you're going hard for a month, 2 months, then you disappear for another month, 2 months, you get the roller coaster effect. You get stronger, faster, more confident, you're building muscle, then you stop. And then it's like you come back and we're starting over again. You're out of shape. I've got to reestablish technique. You've forgotten how to move with certain exercises, whether it's free weights or body weight. And maybe you started just training on your own and now you built up bad habits like doing pull-ups halfway, squatting too heavy but not low enough. And so I'm with you. Consistency is king. And go back and listen to that podcast we did with Mike Schrock when he said, take that vacation. You think the world is going to end when you're away. The world is not going to end. And honestly, the kids, I feel, need a break from me because I'm pretty high strung with them. And so they need a break for me. And then you know what? Then they have not just a physical break, but a mental and emotional break. They come back excited when they don't see you for 7 to 10 days. And I think every 3 months, you give an athlete a week off. That comes out to a month off every year, or the season is over, you take a week off. The tricky thing is a coach did ask me this, Paul, and I think this is important to address. Okay, I'm taking a vacation in July. What about a kid who's taking a vacation in early July? Now he misses 2 weeks. So what? Like, what do you want me to do? Stop a family vacation? I'm not going to, do that. And I can't control everybody's vacations. There's no such thing as perfect. It's not going to happen. And I'm done losing sleep over somebody else's schedule. And, my wife, I remember saying this to me, is she's like, your number one priority is making your kids beasts, not everybody else, not making all them beasts. And so the energy and effort we put into trying to get these kids to show up, we got to remember to do that stuff with our own kids. And I know your son goes to your high school. He gets to train with you. And, I don't have that situation, but my, the underground strength gym is in Manasquan where we live. So my daughter runs there and I got to get my son there a little bit more, but, so yeah, summer schedule, I just made it 3 days a week. I feel if I make it mornings and evenings and it's a little bit too much. I think too many options gives kids the opportunity for too many excuses. So that being said, we're going to stick to a timeline, unlike what I did at my certification this past weekend. Let's hit the next topic. You mentioned what do you do with new kids coming in? So this summer, we are now allowed to train incoming freshmen, which is great because last year, the football players were so skinny and weak who were freshmen. They actually told the coach, I can't remember what team they were playing, but during halftime, some of them said they do not want to go back in the game. They said that they're afraid. And I was like, man, I got to get these freshmen in for 8 weeks. In 8 weeks, I could help a kid gain easily 8 pounds. That's a pound a week, if not more, because they're at this age where those hormones are kicking in and they get big and strong just looking at the weight. So I could give them my nutrition PDF/guideline, which is really basic. I could
Yep.
introduce them to basic strength training and some basic bodybuilding to put on the muscle, get those hill sprints going. So now when they begin football, the boys soccer team does not train with me, but football obviously does. Now they'll be in shape for practice. And what I like to do, Paul, for introduction is body weight training and a lot of carries. Farmer walk, teach them a basic kettlebell, clean, then teach them how to do a rack walk, then teach them a double
Yeah.
rack walk, but a lot of farmer walks, hill sprints, not even a lot of volume, sometimes just 3 hill sprints, squats, lunges, push-ups. If you can't do pull-ups, which is a lot of kid, you're going to do a recline row or an inverted row. And then basic dumbbell exercises, 1-arm military press or doubles, sets of 5 to 10. I love 5 to 10. Curls, sets of 10. Dumbbell bench, sets of 5 to 10. And it's amazing how just doing farmer walks, press, bench, curl, lots of push-ups, lunges, squatting. Then when they're good at lunges, they do weighted lunges. And then body weight squats become goblet squats. And this summer could be a powerful time to build muscle. And I will do full body workouts with these kids. And I might do the same exercises, but I'll change up the reps. So
Yeah.
I might do, listen, we're going to do 5 sets of 5 on the dumbbell bench and recline row. Next time I might do 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. Next time I might do 4 sets of 10. So I'm doing the same exercises, but I switch up the rep ranges, which might change the weight that they use. If we're doing sets of 10, we're building muscle. And by the way, at this age, building muscle is what gets them stronger and allows them to be faster. You cannot be strong without muscle, and you cannot be fast without muscle and strength. And so putting muscle on these kids is number one. I had a new kid yesterday at my gym, day one. We warmed him up. I had him do sleds, band pull aparts, then squats, push up, recline row, walking lunges. Then he did the movement prep with everybody. Then his workout was farmer walk plus 5 push-ups for 4 sets. So just 5 perfect push-ups. Then I had one of the kids show him how to do a squat jump. Nothing crazy. Kid's getting his feet like an inch or 2 off the ground, but we're getting some pop. 5 squat jumps, 5 recline row, 5 sets of 5. Then I had him do sleds and curls for 2 sets. I also taught him some med ball throwing against the wall. So real basic stuff, nothing crazy. Didn't kill him, but he worked. And that's where you got to go with these beginner kids. You got to work them, but don't crush them because you scare them that way. Slow and steady with these kids. Play the long game. You're not going to have, you're not building Tom Brady freshman year. It's, slow and steady building of the body and mind.
I've found over the years with the freshmen, you're going to see a definition change, but it's not going to be muscle. A lot of these kids, it's going to be neuromuscular. You're going to see them getting stronger, but because we're doing the movements right, you know what I mean? They're squatting correctly. So now all of a sudden their weights are going from here to here because they're squatting right. They're not up on their toes. They're sitting back. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Add that unilateral work, which they don't do, and watch their strength go through the roof. I got a different. I'm thinking with a 1x20. What I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate it a little bit. So I'll have 10 to 12 exercises, and we'll do a cluster where they're doing 15, like they talk about with 1x20, starting with 15 reps. And the other cluster I may do, like you're saying, a 2 to 3x5 with a slow tempo, and then the next day flip them. So that slow tempo day is going to be my 15 day, and then that 15 day is going to come down to my slow tempo day. So they're still going to get the same exercise day, but we're going to alternate the tempo. And so one day they'll get really good at moving the weight a lot. The other day they'll get used to moving the weight slow and controlled. So almost like a modified triphasic thought with that.
I love it.
We're going to see how it works. Thanks to you, I got wedges for our kids. I got Sore Necks sending me 12 wedges for my racks. And I'm pretty excited about summertime for our freshmen. And I made freshman groups only. So on Monday and Wednesday, I have boys freshmen only. Tuesday, Thursday, girls freshmen only. So I have an hour with them, and
Nice.
it's no upperclassmen, no noise. They're going to come in, and hey, I'm with you for the summer times. And during the school year, I'm here till 7 o'clock. And I don't have my own gym, but I stay here until 7. Um,
You
I'm
know,
done at 2 o'clock summertime.
the one of the football coaches had said something to me about wanting freshmen to train with varsity,
Mhm.
and he wants varsity to mentor them. And I said, you know, as seniors, their job is not to mentor the younger kids in the weight room. My job is to coach them, but I don't need an inexperienced kid being pushed to partner with a highly experienced lifter.
Yeah.
They could be in the same room, but they don't need to be doing the same stuff. And I think that's where our expertise comes in. And as a strength coach, a sport performance coach, there's those times where you stand your ground and say, this is what's safe. This is what's effective. This is what a 14-year-old needs to do as opposed to an 18-year-old. It's a completely different world. What we've been doing here is, this is the end of my second year, but what a whirlwind of a year this obviously was, and last year. And so I just started teaching 3 weeks ago front squats. Then I started teaching them hang cleans. So there has
Mhm.
not been a lot of variety. We start off every workout after a warm up with variations of hang cleans and front, or just
Or-
hang clean and front squats. Whether you're doing hang clean with jump or 2 hang cleans, then 4 front squats, just really building the technique. And I want to reiterate what I said at my certification is that's a complex movement. And
Yep.
so sometimes as a coach, you're like, oh my God, they're complaining about their wrist during the front squat. The technique of the hang clean looks so bad. You don't even want to sometimes deal with it emotionally. But then you just got to say, listen, let me get through these first few weeks where it does not look so hot. It looks kind of crappy.
Yeah.
When you teach them at these earlier years, they actually pick it up faster. And so one of the guys that came to my cert, Brian Sadowsky, he's in East Brunswick. I saw him on Instagram teaching RDL into a jump shrug, or taught the front squat, and then just start teaching them how to do a clean. And Mike Boyle, mentioned that. I can't remember who interviewed him. Uh, Maybe he was on a podcast with my buddy Travis Mash.
Yeah.
So Travis, obviously, like one of our best weightlifting coaches in the country, especially he was our junior national team coach. Mike Boyle was like, man, doing a clean is not as complex as people think. He's
Mhm.
like, you get kids front squatting, then you teach them, the RDL. He's like, you demonstrate it. He's like, they're gonna figure it out. They're gonna
Yeah.
start moving that bar and figuring out how to move. And I like, as we get older as coaches and more mature, we just learn. You have that different coach's eye that you pick up on things. And so one thing, this summer for me is not so much, I'm not, you'll hear coaches say I'm doing a this block, a that block. I'm more of, conjugate exercise selection, yet linear progressions. So,
Mhm.
week one is an introductory week. Week two, the technique looks better. We add a little weight. We drop a rep or two. Week three, technique is better. We add a little weight and we're at lower rep range. I'll do a 2 to 3 week mini cycle where we're blending. We do strength exercises, we do power exercises, we do sprinting, we get our conditioning in, we build muscle with high reps. So I get a little bit of everything in there, but then I also play it by ear. So if I look at a kid who's maybe thinner and needs to put on the muscle, I might say, listen, everybody's doing on the bench 5 sets of 3. I want you to do 5 sets of 6 to 8 reps. So I
Yeah.
want you to get that a little bit more volume because I just need to put muscle on that kid. And
Mhm.
so there's a lot of like little things happening. Unlike you, I will not have just this team or just that team. So what I like to do is you kind of have one workout and then you have a regression of that workout. So if your advanced kids are doing hang cleans and front squats, your newer athletes are doing kettlebell clean and kettlebell goblet squat. And then I just double the reps. So if they're doing 2 cleans and 4 front squats, we're going to do 4 cleans and 8 kettlebell squats with the kettlebell. So I keep it real simple. It's not the same thing, but in their mind it is. And it
Yeah.
allows me to have a good command of the room and just kind of keep the flow going.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the other day was bench day. Last Wednesday was bench day. It was baseball's first day back, and our football guys are on 5-3-1. It was a 3 week. We're at 70, 80, 90%. We're getting at it. Baseball's doing tempo. They're doing 5 second drops. We're just getting some tension back in their body.
Yeah.
We're looking to reestablish that length tension ratio that has been blown up after a 30 game season. So
Yeah.
um, I'm with you on the same thing. We're doing the same workouts, but we may have different buckets,
I
and that's
love that.
one of the things on the whiteboard is, I don't need to fill up the baseball's strength bucket right off the bat
Correct.
because they don't have that foundation. Like we said, they just lost that ratio that we were talking about. We got to gain it back. So,
Yes.
to fill that strength bucket with a fire hose and get them right back on it, we're gonna be spinning our wheels.
Yeah,
So
you're gonna beat them up. I like for a month after a sports season to get back and do some bodybuilding work and
yeah,
avoid, I don't want to say we completely avoid it, but we minimize the spinal loading. So we take a break from back squats and trap bar deadlifts. We make sure we do arm farm at the end of each workout to get a pump because they enjoy that stuff. And you mentioned 5-3-1. I was on the phone with Jimmy Wendler last week, not this Friday, the previous Friday. And I love that guy. I've known him, for about 20 years now, so close to half my life. And you know what he was saying to me? He's like, Zach, don't make yourself crazy and stress out over the kids who don't show up. So he
yeah,
said, look, here and there, there's kids on his team. It's a small town. They don't really have so much of that. But he goes, there's certain kids that don't show up regularly, or they may have trained somewhere else and now you're training them, you see them squatting 225, then they tell you, hey, I just squatted 315, and he's like, on what planet did you squat 315? Because I got to see this. But it was such a good reminder where he's like, Zach, you'll make yourself crazy. Remember to focus on the kids who keep walking through those doors. Don't get so worked up over a coach who's not telling the kids to show up because you'll make yourself nuts trying to save the world as a strength coach. And we do have that. It's not a God complex, but you're just we want to help. And
yeah,
so we get frustrated when a sport coach doesn't encourage the team or a certain kid or group of kids are not showing up because what you're capable of. And so, that's why I said this at my cert, and I put this up on Twitter. I do not pull kids from their team training. So if you're training with your football, baseball team, whatever team it is, I never say, "Oh, what does your coach know? Is he a certified this, a certified that?" I say, "Whatever you do at school, just when you come in, let me or the coach who's on the floor, let them know what you did." So yesterday, two of my guys trained with their strength coach, and they had a pretty tough day. I think they did cleans, squats, dumbbell row. Legs were pretty beat up. They did lunges. Guess what we were doing yesterday? Back squats. And they were beat up. So I said, why don't you do this? Why don't you roll out for a little bit, then do the warm up with us, and then I'll go upper body with you. And
yeah,
then at the end, I said, if you want, you could do light sleds for recovery work. I said, if you want, I'm giving you the option. One kid said yes, another kid said no. So I said, all right, go 3 rounds of arms. So do, lying dumbbell tricep extensions and then hammer curls. So arm pump. So what did I do there? I show him that I'm going to work with you. I'm your coach. I'm not trying to be high and mighty. And what we do, what I say is what we do. You got to be flexible as a coach. And
yeah,
I think we're missing some of that. Some private sector coaches uh, talk negative about the sport coach running the weight room or whoever's running the weight room at the high school when that doesn't work. And I learned that many, many, many years ago when Dave Tate said, uh, if I remember he answered like the Q&A, somebody was talking about training football players. He goes, what I would do is I would reach out to the football coach and say, hey, my name's Dave Tate. I'm training 2 of your guys, Paul Collodi and Zach Evanesh. I know they're on your team. Please let me know anything I can do to make your job easier? What weak points do you think they have that you want me to work on to make everything easier for you? And I feel like that's my job, is to minimize headaches for the sport coach. And I want to get Tony Grandinetti on the podcast. He's the football coach for Wall, but he's also their, he does their strength and conditioning. And he's asked me, he came to my gym and said, I had to see why your kids had the best technique and why they could do my workouts and yours. He goes, because my workouts are effing tough. And I said,
Yeah.
because number one, I never tell them not to train with you and train here. I said, number two, I asked them what they did and I work around it so that I'm not overlapping or interfering with your program. And I said, overall, my job with these kids is to make your life easier and to not give you a headache. You know, send you kids that could maybe help out in the weight room, that could demonstrate technique, and just, you know, be better athletes, obviously. But I don't want to be a headache or a thorn in his side. And look, he's like, look, some of our kids go to other places and I don't see the progress happening. And I thought it was cool that he was paying attention to that, and he wanted to see. And here's another thing, and then I'm going to leave it in your court, Paul. But I said, I don't go. I go when they tell me they lift heavy with you, I do a speed technique day with them. So I'm just going technique because I feel like technique is a significant sign of strength. Stronger when you're strong, you have good technique.
I think it's a big discipline factor too, because it is hard to stand there and say, all right, I'm gonna do this right. You know, for some of these kids, you know, when they hear all the time, I need to grind, I need to grind, I need to grind. And you see some of the weights going up heavier and the technique getting worse. It does take discipline to understand this is what I need. So if they did do a hard workout with their coach at school, to come with you and have the discipline to understand that, hey, listen, I got to either do it fast or I got to do it, you know, one or the other.
Yep.
And, you know, that's to me that's a mindset deal for the kids. And that's an area where I'm trying to get better. You know, I spent the last year working with Jeremy Boone and some of his Winning Leader Academy, and some of our kids went through his leadership desire to lead as well. And, you know, just getting them to understand what a vision and a mission is. And I've asked this of my coaches too. And I talked with our football coach about this the other day. He's got a mantra of one, O-N-E, one community, one, you know, one team, one thought process. And I asked him, I said, Coach, I said, that's a vision. I said, you have that down. Let's, you know, he has the one on our t-shirts, and I had it on my t-shirt the other day. But he said, you know, I've never really put that into a small sentence or a phrase before. I said, let's do that. Let's get it out there so that these kids are clear what's expected of them. When they're clear what's expected of them, no matter what they do, they know when they put that HC on, that's what we have to accomplish. It doesn't matter what happens after that. But if they have the thought process of, you know what, I'm just going to do this, and they have all of those choices, what's going to stop them from making those choices on a Friday night? What's going to stop them from going in the B gap when they were supposed to go in the A gap? Even though they know football, hey, you know what? I thought I should be going in that gap tonight. BS. We need them to understand that this is a mission, and you got to do everything you can to protect that mission, which means that you're going to follow the guidelines of the vision of where we want to go and then how we're going to get there. To me, that's one of the biggest things to get these athletes to understand. It's not the sets and the reps. It's once they get that weight on the bar, what's the mission and how are we going to protect it? It's not, oh, Coach, I thought I had about 3 more in the tank, so I was going to do it. Well, that's not what we're doing today.
Yeah.
That's not the B gap. We need the A gap. You know what I mean? So
I love this. What's Jeremy Boone's website for the Leadership Academy?
I think it's winningleader.com. www.winningleader.com. He just started his summer one, but I can say right now that has been a game changer for me as far as my just mental mindset, how I'm dealing with the coaches, and for me itself, how to level myself up every day.
That's
you know,
I've known Jeremy since I got into the industry. I met him at an early Ryan League conference. And I probably known Jeremy Boone since maybe I was like 28. And a couple of years back on my way, I was driving to Summer Strong. I met up with him in North Carolina, met up with him on a football field at a high school. And they had like multiple turf football fields in North Carolina. I was like, oh, damn, I'm in the South. And he was training a couple pro athletes. It was funny. they were like, it was like not raining hard. It was just like a nice rain. And some of them were like kind of trying to make a deal with him to not train in the rain and not get out of the car. And, you know, he used his words and how he knows how to talk to people. And, he got them out of the car. And, I don't follow the NFL enough, but Stephon, I think the guy was down with the Panthers and then went up with the Steelers maybe. But
Stephon Gilmore.
That's him. Yeah. He was training him. And then he was training another guy, and he would, Jeremy was back then doing his leadership training. So we got to get him on. He was in the high school. He would utilize their weight room. They had a beautiful weight room. It was really cool just being down there, seeing how how the Carolinas just have been ahead of the curve with strength and conditioning. I experienced that in 2009 when I went to Wake Forest for the North Carolina state strength coach clinic. It was winter break, but they were holding a strength camp for high school kids. And there must have been like close to 100 kids in the Wake Forest weight room. And I remember Coach Istvan Yavarek was teaching them Olympic lifts. I remember taking them through bodyweight stuff, like my finisher. This is a great finisher, Paul. Check this out. It's 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. You do squat jump, clapping push-ups. If you can't do clapping push-ups, you do regular push-ups. And then you do lunge jumps. 10 lunge jumps is 5 each leg. 8 lunge jumps, 4 each leg. And then if there's a pull-up bar, that's in there as well. If you can't do pull-up, it's a recline row, but at 10 down to 2. So I remember taking the football. These were high school football kids. And I was like, man, these football players are here. These high school kids are here on their own winter. It was a Saturday. So maybe college was on winter break. High school was maybe just having a weekend off. And they were in there going through a strength and conditioning clinic. So they were, the South is like ahead of their curve, forward thinking with that kind of stuff. So Paul, we've got a few minutes left. Do you want one more topic to cover? Did we have one topic? I know we said a couple things in the beginning, or any words from NHSSCA?
Hey, listen, we got to get back to our roots. So, what movies you planning on? You're watching this summer? We're going to do this every week. So,
yeah.
And then I'll tell you what, summer foods, it doesn't, hey, listen, if you're anywhere in the country, you got to get a flight out to New Jersey, fly into Newark Airport, drive down to Manasquan, hit the Point Pleasant Boardwalk, and you gotta, hey, Dave Portnoy was just there. Pizza Review, Manasquan, the Swan Tavern, got a 7-6 on pizza. Hey, it doesn't get any better than
where did you get pizza?
Summertime.
Where did you get pizza?
I did, and I had to go home. So I'm coming down. We're coming down maybe Friday night. We're thinking about coming down and doing a beach night.
Nice.
A little Jenkinson's.
Yes.
Maybe we'll drive through the Squat, holler at you a little bit.
Absolutely, dude. So movies this summer, I don't really know what movie theaters are, back open now. The masks have been removed from schools last week. I'm trying to think of, I'm feeling this is a good movie for my kids to watch. I watched it my freshman year in college. It was the December of 1993. It may have been November. It may have been earlier in the fall semester. I was in a creative writing class, and my professor sent us to watch the movie A Bronx Tale. And I thought that was a real interesting movie. And I think some of the movies back then, I don't know how they would fit in, but you had issues in that movie with money, with race, with parenting, struggles, parent struggles, sports. And I thought that was quite an amazing movie. Lessons learned. So that's a movie. I think my son will be 13 in 2 weeks. My daughter turns 15 the end of the summer. That's a movie I want to rewatch. Man, I watched that movie the fall of 1993, Paul. So
Wow.
food, when I was down at Summer Strong at Sornex, I met this guy, Andy, the flip flop guy. He's got his own marinade. He does a lot of like game, wild game. And I eat elk down
Yeah.
there. And basically, he just flips the meat over and over and keeps marinating it with it's like a long rosemary, and he puts it in the bowl and you just keep throwing on the marinade. So I listen. I love steaks and burgers and kind of eating that low carb and eggs. I'm like a throwback to Vince Gironda of the steak and eggs diet. So I love that stuff. And man, we are excited that COVID is behind us, I hope. And we've got freedom, and man, it just feels good. So that's what I got. What about you for movies and food this summer?
Well, I want to go back old school. I want my kids to watch. I want my son to watch Vision Quest with me. I know it's a little bit cheesy, but I want to pull that up. I want to get that on there, and just watching that. I still get chills when they're walking through that stadium entrance, and they look down, and he's carrying that log on his shoulder. Shoot,
Yeah.
That's a movie that takes me back to high school watching that.
I watched it in middle school.
Yeah.
And my
I want to. I did one of my favorites.
yes,
It's a little corny. It is.
Yeah. Matthew Modine was on my buddy's podcast, John Wellborn, power athlete.
Yeah.
And he said
tell him to send him your information. Let's get him on.
Well, Matthew Modine wouldn't go on their podcast unless he got like 100 retweets. And Matthew Modine basically said, he's like, that movie would be very taboo today. Like the way he would, I think that was like his teacher. He was having those, conversations with his teacher about life and sex and, just kind of like sexual orientation things. All that stuff. He goes, that movie, he goes, I don't think it would work in today's era, the way people view things, but such a great movie about work ethic, following your dreams, kind of the struggles that a high school kid goes through emotionally. And I'll say this to you, man. Sometimes I tell these kids, I go, guys, when I talk to them about being coachable, I say, I remember being in high school. I unfortunately was not coachable. That's not an excuse for you to not be coachable. What I'm telling you is I missed out on a lot of success because I could not stop and listen to my coach and take it all in. And so this summer, we got to get my wrestling coach on the podcast. We got to get Tony Grandinetti on the podcast, Jeremy Boone. Yep. So we got a lot of work to do. And let's say people still have a chance. I will not be at NatCon. I'm away the end of July for my son's baseball plus family vacation. I might be away for another certification. It's tough. What if somebody wants to go out there? They go to nhssca.us, click events.
Yep. Yes. And in national conventions, the first button on the left, click on that. It's not too late. It's a little over a week away. I'll tell you what, I talked to Ryan last week. He's fired up. The attendance looks great. I'm going to be speaking. Unfortunately, I'm speaking the same time. Jeremy Boone and Amanda Berg, two superstars, are speaking in a breakout. But I'm talking about how to get an athlete who's been injured back into the weight room and incorporate it back in. So some different strategies to use the TRX to unload their bad leg, or how to use it. I know you do that a lot too. And everybody's scared to come back in the weight room when they have an injury. I'm like, let's go. We'll find a way to get you stronger. Whether it's thinking about irradiation, everything.
Get your mind right. By the way, one of the guys who came to my certification, Keenan, he's in Texas. He's going to the Texas State Clinic, NHSSCA.
I remember him saying that.
He's really excited. I said, dude, you're not going to find a better group of people. You're going to feel right at home. He's excited.
Yeah.
Good for him. So
we're a little over half an hour.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to some walleye pike to eat out in Minnesota when we're out there. I've already reserved some of that, and I'm ready to rock.
Nice, nice. So we do have new members. I got to look through the list. Kevin O'Neill, our regional director up in Mass, sent it to us. You know, those of you in New Jersey, keep signing up. Go to nhssca.us. See if your school is like almost like in your budget, can reimburse you, can sign you up. I wouldn't be shocked if many of them do sign you up. And I spoke with Kevin, and he said NHSSCA in the fall said we could start doing our family day events. So he said, if I want to do a, you know, like a little gathering of my own, he goes, of course, he goes, but a family day will be in the fall, and then the state clinic will not be until 2022. So that's our, from leadership from the national level, said that's where we want to go, the direction we're going with NHSSCA. So if you're in New Jersey, we'll do a little get together, you know, pretty informal thing sometime soon. And then we'll do a family day in the fall. Then we've got a state clinic, and then regional clinic. And state and regional, will you be able to host regionals even though it was Zoom this year? Hopefully.
Yeah, well, I talked about that with Kevin. We'll see if we're going to do a regional this year, or we just stick to state. And then maybe again, maybe I think it's going to be fluid this year. We're going to see how it's going to work. He's been talking with Gary and administration, and we're going to get it right. We're going to take care of everybody and make sure we grow our family. You've been doing a great job as far as getting the word out, and it's shown with our membership growth.
Thanks to you.
So
Thanks
we're going
to you,
in the right direction. No, we're going in the right direction, and hopefully certification will be out soon. In 2022, you'll hear more about that, about the first ever certification only for high school coaches, and
if
pretty
you're
excited about that as well.
If you're coaching or want to coach at the high school, you got to be part of the NHSSCA. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. All right. So Paul, this was awesome, my bro. I'll connect with you later so we can schedule for next week. Thanks to everybody for listening. Coaches, share this with administration, post it to your social media feeds, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. The way you leave a review is you open up the podcast show on your phone, and then you scroll down to the bottom and click leave a review. So if you're on the episode, it won't work. Go to the show, scroll down, leave a review, type in a few sentences, and spread the word. Paul, thanks, my bro. Everybody, thanks for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you guys soon.